Hello and welcome, my friends, to another stream of Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, a freelance graphic designer based in London. And on today's stream, we have someone who is no stranger to the Adobe Live universe. We have the very cool UX, UI designer, live streamer, Jack Watson. Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Kieran?
I'm good. I'm excited to collaborate with you. We've both been on hosts, but we've never collaborated.
Yeah.
We're in
It's
this
been
life.
it's been a long time since I've been a guest, so I'm in the guest seat
Yeah,
today, a little bit different. I'm kind of excited, so I can't wait to share my process
nice.
with you all.
I love the mixing it up. We're always down for that, right? Just to try and swirl up a little bit. And I can see the lovely folks coming in thick and fast. Hello, Jack, Oliver, Yevie, Cody, Corey. Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're tuning in on YouTube, Behance, as always, please do get your comments in the chat. We love to see them. I'll make sure that Jack sees the comments as well whilst they're designing. And then we're in the real flow of it, and you can see how we can create some stuff. On a final note, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Adobe Live community on YouTube. Follow us there on Adobe at Adobe, I should say, on Instagram for latest streams, updates, and so much more. So, Jack, that's me done. Would you like to introduce yourself to our lovely audience and what you're working on for today's stream?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the intro, Kieran, and welcome everybody. I see lots of friends, familiar faces hopping in the chat. I'm Jack. Like was said, I'm a full-time UI UX designer, but I've had an interesting journey. My background's actually in medical illustration, and I transitioned across my, oh my gosh, over 10-year career now from that through animation, through illustration, branding, and now UI UX work. So today we're going to be working on a branding project. So I'm gonna share a little bit, a few projects I've done in the past to kind of give you an idea, sense for like my style, what we're gonna be working on today. I like very fun, bright colors. If you saw the,
Nice.
if you saw the thumbnail for this, you probably saw some of the work that I've done here. I've got my Behance open. This is Buildings and Food. This is a recent brand that launched, a lot of food brands. It's interesting. Actually, I work at a full-time design agency here doing UI UX work, but that I do wear a lot of hats, as everybody kind of, if you come from an agency background, kind of does. So I do a lot of the same stuff that I've always kind of done in illustration that all kind of factors in. Plus, I'm kind of a forever student. I love learning new things. So
Nice.
branding kind of sits at this interesting little section of like my user experience skills and my illustration skills. I get to kind of use them together. And so I started doing the, more branding work, more freelance branding work. For example, this is a client that I've done a couple projects with now. So this will give you kind of a sense of how my process works and also, what my kind of style looks like here. This is a passion project that was just kind of for fun, but I like to keep passion projects also. I treat them like they're going to be client projects, so that, you want to be able to have something at the end that you can share to get work, right? And the best way to do that is to showcase your process so that everybody can clients can see what they're going to get when they're going to work with you, right? So this is another food brand I did. This is another client project. So this one was a lot of fun because I got to do some fun characters, which I think we're going to try to do today. This is
Nice.
for a client that sells like custom vanilla beans. They like order the beans and then they ferment them in like special packaging that gets sent out. So it's a whole process. So
This could
yeah.
potentially be the most tastiest stream I think I've hosted, Jack. Because it's all very
Yeah,
food related. We said this before we came on,
definitely.
right? It's going to be licking the
Definitely.
screen today.
There's gonna be lots of food chat. Let me know in the chat what, I mean, I guess your favorite food. You can share it as an emoji. Obviously I
Nice.
love donuts. There's my little donut animation. If you go to my website, I've got this about page. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, will give you a good sense of like who I am and kind of my style. I've also got Crock of Time, lots of also on my Behance. If you go to my Behance, you can take a look and browse through some of these projects. But let's actually hop right
Nice.
into Illustrator, which is where we're
Sounds like
going
a
to be
plan.
working today. To get started, so we're going to start in Illustrator. Yeah, Sarah may say it wouldn't be a Jack stream without food chatting,
I
definitely.
love that. She knows you too well, clearly.
Absolutely. Sarah's actually an old coworker of mine. We've got a couple of
Ah,
my coworkers joining in the chat. So Sarah and I have known each other for a long time, and she's also a streamer here on Behance. So be sure to go and check out and
hey,
support
here we
Sarah.
go. It's all family vibes. I love it in this
Yeah,
stream today.
The Behance Adobe Live fam jam.
Yes,
So
we're good for it. We are good for it.
Yeah. So, I also wanted to show this because I think this is kind of important. So this is where we're going to actually end up going today. So this is a client project that I just wrapped. And this is actually what it looks like as like a working file. So as I'm kind of working through the project, this is typically how I work across. So we start with the brand traits up here. We think about the notes, from conversations that we've had with clients. We put together a mood board, and then I just start getting into color concepts, type concepts, and then mark concepts. And as we go on, you can see it starts to get really kind of like builds on itself, and this file kind of becomes a big working file. What we eventually kind of share with the client is actually going to be something more like this. So this is where we end up. This is the client presentation. So I think it's kind of important to note the difference between like this is what maybe you don't always see. This is what the working file looks like. This is all the chaos. And it even gets more chaotic because we have like different versions of things on previous layers, right? Like all of this stuff in the background that we kind of worked on to arrive kind of at the final
Inception
point.
of layers. An artboard. Yeah. I love it.
I'm team name your layers. So everything's got to be organized. I can't, let me know in the chat if your team name your layers or not. But this is what we end up sharing with the client is at the end of this version.
Nice.
Just gotta save notice there. But back over. We're going to be making a food brand in Adobe Illustrator. And actually, let me go ahead and share this. I've got a share link here. I'm going to post it in the chat, in the Behance chat, if anybody wants to share it on the YouTube chat. If you want to take a closer look at this, this is how I start. So I start with a conversation with the client, and we talk about, how they kind of envision their brand. They might have a brand name already. They may still be working on that. Depends. I've had clients go either way. And what are sort of like, what are the traits they want to represent their brand? It can be like adjectives, silly, fun, playful, high end, all kinds of, or they can be imagery. Like in this case, this is going to be a personal project. It's just going to be for fun. Cool. My original inspiration was the alliteration of the two words. So it's going to be called Tanuki Sushi. So Tanuki, nice. If you don't know, are these they're Japanese raccoon dogs. They're not actually raccoons. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're dogs, but they're very important to like Japanese lore. And obviously sushi is very important culturally to Japan. So I'm kind of playing with that like alliteration. Nice. I love wordplay. I love puns. I like, I think
yes. We're gonna get along nicely. We're gonna get along very well. You love a good pun. I love it.
If anybody has any other suggestions as well for the name, if you have something that maybe you can come up with a fun sushi pun or a tagline, we need a tagline for this brand that kind of relates to what this is. So
10 points for the best tagline or like food pun name. Get them in there, friends.
So that's what we're working on today. So I start this way. I just come up with and I do some research. So I'll compile these notes that are like, what is this brand? What are the imagery that we want to kind of evoke? And I'll do I've got like definitions, like what sushi is and in relation to the brand. And then the final kind of part of my process here, even if the client has a mission statement already, or maybe they don't, I don't shy away from just writing a brand statement for them. Kind of helps everybody be on the same page and say like, hey, is this what you kind of envision here, right? So Tanuki Sushi is a casual restaurant with a foundation in traditional Japanese sushi that uses fresh local ingredients. The menu's designed seasonally to surprise and delight patrons. Our goal is to provide a high quality sushi experience in an approachable atmosphere. So it's going to be kind of fun, kind of casual. It's still going to be high end, but it's, it's not like pretentious. And then deliverables. So we want to also kind of list out at every stage of the process, whenever I'm like done with something and handing it off to a client, I want to remind them what the next steps are, what our next, tasks and deliverables are going to be, like what I need to do and what they need to do.
Just on that, I love that, just the idea of just kind of laying it all out as well, because it's so, I don't know if you find it, but with clients, you're such in the thick of the process that actually either yourself or even the other party can almost get lost in the mix, and just to have it all, outlined, whether it's an agreement or that breakdown, peace of mind, though. I feel like it keeps everyone sane sometimes just to have it nicely listed out like the way you've done it.
And that's where like my experience as a user experience designer comes in. I like to say this, and it's a little bit controversial, maybe a little bit of a hot take, but I feel like when we exist, like my job exists, we don't actually create anything at the end, right? Like we're the intermediary between like there is no website or product, and then the developer makes the website or product at the end. So like we kind of live in this space where like my job is to take all of these different pieces of information, all of these the client needs, the user needs, the developer needs, all of that stuff, all that information, and come out with something at the end that kind of reflects all of that. So branding is very similar in that state. Like this is a document that's meant to be communication. So over here in our mood board, for example, based on those notes that I've taken, I basically go through here and I pull, these are, color reference pattern ideas, different, like the Japanese city mascots. If you've ever seen those, I thought that would be a good direction to take for this like logo, because we obviously want something that's kind of like a character, because the name has Tanuki in it. It makes sense to have kind of like a mascot style. And then this is one of my favorite artists, Kay Powell here. Does these like I've never seen it, but it looks awesome. And I just think like here over on this side of the artboard, I've got just like some ideas for like I want like how I can kind of pull the character into it, right? The silliness into it. So when I put together things, I'm thinking about all of that. Fonts, like here's some like type inspiration. Typically I don't put these notes on a mood board that I share with a client, but I wanted to share this with you all today so you can kind of see my thought process through these notes, how I've organized things. So these are color palette ideas. These are kind of like the logo mark ideas. Here's just image references of the Tanuki. Here's I've got these kind of scattered references of sushi. This is nigiri sushi. We've got some rolls over here. Some fonts. So this is how I put together, and I actually just share this to the client along with the brand statement that I wrote and the brand characteristics as kind of like a first step to say, are we all on the same page? Does this all make sense to you? And I don't give them my kind of reactions to the mood board. I let them kind of explore it and say like what they kind of gravitate towards, so that I can kind of it does like a gut check to say like, are the decisions that I made about the mood board, are they aligning with like where the client kind of is gravitating towards? So that's kind of how I use the mood board as a tool, and how I kind of present it, always with the brand statement. You always want to be reminding the client like, this is what we're doing. This is like the crux of everything. If we don't align with this, then our brand isn't working. So
just a question, I mean, it's probably a really tiny one, but like when it comes to sharing this mood board with the client, do you find there is a bit of, for me, I'm a bit old school, so the idea of maybe meeting up in person, if you can, for a coffee, you get to talk it through. But even, getting amends from what they think via a video call rather than maybe say amended notes, because it's one thing to type out what they think, but actually you get to a real sense of someone talking it through, and you can kind of question it and actually get that real understanding of what they mean just from a call or a video chat. Do you ever find that with clients?
Yeah, it really depends on the client. So that's a point I actually wanted to bring that up. So the last time I was on Adobe Live, we did the Anything Does app, and I connected with a donut shop here in town to work on a brand with them. And I've literally been working with them trying to get this off the ground for like 4 years now, since that happened, maybe 3 years. So it's been a long process, and it's difficult with food clients, especially most of my clients are like small business. They're not like enterprise. I'm not working with, like McDonald's, right? I'm working with like local restaurants, local food products, so they're oftentimes so busy running their business that it's difficult for them to make the time to like sit down and meet with me regularly. So I like to use these tools when I can to kind of send things over to them and get their initial thoughts if a meeting isn't going to work. So I like to have meetings when we can, but like I also try to be careful about like how I use their time, because it's definitely, I found it's difficult with
trying to pin them down and just I hope they are paying in cash and not donuts, by the way, just FYI, because I don't know, I'm not sure. I know you like donuts, Jack, so I don't know if,
I do love
each to their own. Cool. I can see, by the way, in the chat, everyone's absolutely loving the mood board as well. And just kind of like, I've got Melissa who said, I love a good mood board, organize the chaos. Yes, we agree with you, Melissa. Thanks for your comments.
So moving on from there, I've got a whole bunch of stuff now. My brain is filled with thoughts about this brand. I have a little bit of a different process, and I just want to clarify for today. If this isn't your process, that's fine. I'm just sharing what kind of like how I go about doing things. So maybe give this a try. Especially for those of you who maybe have a little bit of a hard time like putting something down on the page. Like there's that whole like blank page syndrome. I actually will jump right into picking colors and picking fonts next. The tendency, I think, is to jump into sketching out concepts, and I found that that doesn't really work for me, as well as like, let me think about like the colors and the fonts next. And I've actually labeled these, so if you do want to go through and give me your thoughts on like which ones you like, I've got numbers for the colors and letters for the fonts that I've kind of pulled. So I've done a little bit of pre-work on this so that we can to try and save time. So the colors inspiration here, and you can kind of see, this is where I start. I start with grayscale at the top. And the reason that I do that is I like to make sure that I have a good range of values when I'm working on anything, really. It could be an illustration, it could be a brand, it could be, a design for a website or an app. A good range of values. So I'll start actually with, black and whites, grays. And then I'll pick colors that kind of fall within those ranges, just so that I have good contrast. So I was kind of on the fence on whether I wanted like 3 or 4 colors for this. I try to keep a pretty minimal color palette, and I tried to stick with colors that were kind of like associated with the imagery that we wanted to pull. So we've got like, I don't know, this one's like a wasabi, this one's like a tamago. Some of the blues remind me of like the mackerel, like the fish, right? So we've got a whole bunch of the browns, and the darker colors like are the fur patterns, right, on the tanuki. I've got some lighter colors for rice. So that's kind of how I put together some colors. I try to pull some things that are like, when I'm thinking about every aspect of this project, I like that to have everything kind of like align with our brand. So your colors standing on their own, you should get a sense for like what that brand is. Like they should evoke a feeling when you're looking at them. The same with the font. The fonts that I pick, I try to pick things that are going to evoke those feelings that align with our brand statement right up front, right? So these are very like similar to the choices I made with the colors, right? The round fonts, they have a more like playful feel to them. They're a little bit friendlier. We've got like the heavier font, but it's got like, I don't know, like funky little accents to some of the letters. And there's even some like curves in these letters, even though they're kind of more blocky. So
you know what's funny? Like even the shapes, no, like I feel like even the option D, where you feel like the curves. I don't know if it's looking way too much into it, but like the curves can remind you of like the curving of like the sushi, or like there's always like a rationale element behind these little traits, which I don't know. I feel like it's a nice talking point as well. There's a rationale, obviously, why the design, but also when it comes to the client choosing and thinking, oh, I think I like that, but I don't know why, and then they think, oh, maybe because it's actually related to the food itself, and there's those kind of conversations that's quite nice, maybe talking points to get into depth, which is quite cool.
Absolutely, 100%. And even with these fonts, like this thicker font, if I kind of go back here to my mood board for a second, one of the ideas that I want to explore is I love making brand patterns. I think they're a great asset to a brand because you can add them anywhere. They can be backgrounds, they can be like bespoke little elements that you pull out. And so I thought it'd be fun to do like these little like sushi blocks. I think I even wrote it here, in different colors, sort of in like that heavy blocky style that is very like sort of like this font inspiration, as like a pattern that we could use. And in that case, like the I here, like some of these letters are going to match with that style. So
nice.
There you go. That's kind
We've got some. I love Corey's comment in the chat. He said, "Feels like a very UI UX designer thing to create a design system before anything visual." But I think that's the beauty of like these streams, and this is why we do this now, so that you can really dive into like the methodology behind every designer and what your kind of starting block, which is cool to see. It really
Corey
is
cool actually also one of my coworkers and my partner.
Oh, they're all friends of this. It's the whole stream. Just like I love it. It's your followers. I just
let me pop this open really quick because this is actually a brand I did for Corey. So Corey has a fermentation community. He's really big into like food and fermentation, and so I put together this brand for Corey. If you want to check out,
cool.
Crock of Time here.
Love that.
Um,
I love that. Welcome, Corey. And again, welcome, my friends, if you're on YouTube or aren't. So, yeah, get those comments for Jack, and I'll make sure
yeah.
Jack sees it.
Oh, Evie's thinking about Tanuki sushi. I saw somebody post something about rice, and I've missed it now.
Oh, was it not Rice Baby? Was it? Was
Yeah,
it?
that was it from
Yeah,
Annika.
that was Amina. Sorry, Amina. That was an Annika. Yeah, I love that. Puns. I feel like there need to be more. There'll be more puns potentially in the stream
Oh,
popping up
definitely.
because we are suckers for puns. But Rice Baby. There we go. That
All
humor is
right.
not wasted on us. Let's dive into it.
So I'm gonna start with some sketches. And
Cool.
like I said, this is my process. This is how I work. I actually prefer sketching directly in Illustrator, whether it's Illustrator
Cool.
on the desktop, just using shapes, or actually if I need to do more like looser sketches, if there's not like a, if it's more, for example, the peristyle stuff that we did, some of these looser shapes, I'll actually use my iPad, Illustrator on the iPad to,
Nice.
kind of sketch something out. So I'm actually just going to start sketching out right in here some shapes that I want to play with, right? So we've got like a really round character maybe that we want to explore. Definitely want to start out with a nice character, right? And whenever I'm doing stuff like this with just playing with shapes, I'll actually kind of do a bunch of iterations of like different giving things different weights in terms of a character. So we'll kind of like pull this shape up here. Now you can see that it's more like weighted towards the bottom versus like if we create another kind of a shape, we just copy and paste this one. This is a different feel to it, right? It feels top heavy, but it feels very like powerful. And maybe that's not, and more aggressive, and that's not really like maybe the feel that I want to go for. So we can stick with something that's maybe a little bit more like kind of bottom heavy.
Definitely getting like, I don't know why Flubber came to mind. It's so off piece here, but like
yeah, I mean, if you've
Flubber
ever done any
yeah.
kind of like animation, like character sketches, anything with like flour sacks, you kind of understand like
So
making
true.
use of like weight, and using another important thing when it comes to like coming up with like a logo, or I mean not a logo, but just like anything in general, is it should read pretty well as a silhouette. So we want to make sure that we have something that kind of like at small sizes, particularly like a website favicon, this is going to like read really clearly, right? So we can already kind of see that this kind of looks like our little tanuki here if we wanted to. And I'm just kind of like playing and experimenting right now.
Just out of curiosity, whilst you're doing it, so do you, again, I think you mentioned before, apologies if I forgot about it, but do you, when you do sketches, do you tend to ever draw, or do you kind of just jump onto screen, or it depends on timings and clients? Do you have like a
it depends on the project. So for this, I've already got pretty clear sort of understanding of what the imagery is going to be. Again, I keep going back to peristyle, but for that project in particular, we didn't really have a clear direction on like what the imagery was going to be. We just knew like the look and feel that we wanted. So in that case, it's that required a lot more sort of like figuring out, sort of more sketching kind of thing. With this, I'm just going right into shapes because I kind of know the shapes that I want to like play with. I don't know, this brand itself is going to be kind of like, I don't know, more geometric in my mind. It may be.
Folks, I was gonna say, we've got folks already. I mean, Melissa's already said this is already looking cute. There's no eyes already, but already the chubbiness and the cuteness of the shapes is definitely a thing. So I love those comments. Keep them coming.
Yeah. So and you could play with like, there are like little details here, right? I'm moving kind of quickly, but so if anybody has any questions about any of the like any of the shortcuts or anything that I'm using, just go ahead and ask them in the chat. But you can play with things too, like the eye shape, but also like the eye placement, like this here is gonna read a lot different than like if I move these eyes down. Right? It kind of like changes the look and feel.
It's like whether they're angry or sad or super happy, it's just depending on the even if eyebrows are introduced, that's a whole different thing in itself. But yeah.
I don't know. So maybe that's kind of an idea. I'm not digging the outside shapes. It's kind of giving me like a badger look right now that I don't know. Like, or like a panda bear.
Yeah, a bit of panda vibes, but still cute, still digging it.
The other kind of thing that we can explore is we can actually pull pieces and parts out. So if we didn't want to go the like mascot approach here, we could actually try just using like let's do like a just like the mask, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna pull out the mask here.
Whilst you're doing it, what's your so your setup now? Are you desktop, MacBook, desktop, tablet, iPad?
I have
What's your hookup?
I'm just working with Shape today, so I'm actually just using a mouse
Okay.
and pen, or a mouse and keyboard, because I find that's the easiest for working with shapes for me personally. Yeah. I do have a Cintiq. Again, that's more for like looser line work kind of stuff, or like when I want like pressure sensitive lines. So if you're doing like lines that go from thick to thin and you want to control that with pressure sensitivity. Nice. Painting, if I'm doing the rare Photoshop painting, just kind of playing around. Nice. I also have a tablet, like I said, an iPad, but I'm working on, so I'm on my PC today. I also have a MacBook, so my PC has all of my like streaming stuff hooked up to it, so that's why I'm on there. But
so you're fully hooked up. I do love that.
I'm a little bit, I guess, all over the place in that sense. I don't have like, I'm not attached to a particular brand. I'm not team Apple or team Windows.
That's probably safe sometimes. I feel like when you're in that space, you're kind of locked in the bubble. No, yeah, I'm guilty of in that space. Everything kind of works in situ of Apple, but nothing wrong with Apple, of course. But yeah, it depends on what you feel comfortable with. Which is actually interesting because I was going to kind of bring into for anyone who is tuning in and maybe not necessarily from a design background or even has the tools will learn about it. I think that's the beauty of why maybe watching these streams are cool, no? Because you learn whether it's the tools or whether it's the tutorials on how to do basic things, especially if you're just starting out. So yeah, I guess there's no fear in wanting to just try things out with different tech stuff, which is cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everything I'm doing here so far is not super complex. I really am just sticking with like basic shapes and lines. Like this is kind of like, maybe we could play with this idea of like, I don't know, just the mask itself. And then I'll go back and I'll look and say like, what are elements from the sushi that we can kind of like pull in that element.
I don't know why I'm seeing like a superhero with like a sort of cape, not a cape, but like the sort of masks. My brain's already thinking in that way. Clearly like superhero stuff. But yeah.
Let's see. I kind of like the idea of like using, well, I know what we'll do. We'll try this. I'm going to grab another shape here. I'm just going to switch it. And Tanuki have like this interesting, they're kind of like pointed. They're so fluffy that you could either go really round with them or you can go really fluffy. I'll actually change this to a corner point and pull it up a little bit, and then I'll round out the top. So I'm kind of making a shape that almost is like a little Hershey kiss.
Little bow bun.
And then we'll pull it down a little bit. Actually, let's go back. Let's go here and let's just see. I'm just kind of playing, I'm playing with shapes at this point. It's nothing,
You're in a good place to explore and have fun with it. And we've got Evie, who I'm saying something correctly, who said, yeah, I definitely saw Mask Zorro in question mark. I'm not the only one. I thought we see superheroes. There we go. On the same page. Love it.
Let's see what we can pull in.
And where are you tuning in from as well? Just so we have an idea, Jack. Where are you designing from today?
Ohio. I'm in Northeast Ohio. I'm close by to Cleveland. Let's go ahead and pull one of these over here so I can just get like a sense for like that. I liked that idea of like using elements from the text and like maybe we'll see what I come up with.
I'm a bit of a sucker for when it comes to like when you integrate sort of typography with like the imagery. So like I'm just throwing things out there, but whether it's the A or the curve of the S, when it kind of curves into like the shape of whatever the design is, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, it's one of those ones that you have to kind of play around with to get it right. But I think it's quite fun when that works out, especially like when it's like an eye. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
I'm definitely getting that from like some of these shapes here if we kind of pull them out.
Mm.
I almost feel like this would be an interesting maybe way to go to like that sushi block pattern idea.
Yeah, nice.
Let's see.
I do love it elongate. Ah, see, cool. See what you've done there. Yeah,
Oh
that kind of
God.
elongated. I think that's quite cool.
Or like breaking them up. Let's see. I'm not like being super. I can go back in here and like clean these up at any time once we get them kind of like
Yeah, that's all
that as
good.
an idea. And if we
Nice.
kind of change the colors, so let's grab some colors. Let's just grab this set here for now. Everybody can let me know what their opinions are. So I'm gonna grab a couple things. I'll grab a couple things over here. All right, there we go. So you think about how sushi's structured. Maybe this is like our nigiri sushi. We've got like the fish on top, the rice on the bottom, and then maybe this is like nori or something in the middle. You can go with like a lighter color too. I'm gonna go like this.
Probably a good time to say. I mean, half an hour already into the stream, and if you have just joined in, you're probably gonna get super hungry because clearly we're creating the tasty brand today. We've got Jack Watson, UI and UX designer extraordinaire, and Adobe live streamer too. And you're in this flow of creating a awesome brand via Illustrator. So if you have just joined us, welcome. Get those comments in the chat. And you're probably gonna be hungry as well. I mean, I'm pretty starving because it's nighttime over here in London. So there we go. But still, stay with us, and enjoy, or eat whilst you're watching. Who knows? Mix it up. So yeah, welcome.
I kind of like this, and So I'm now playing with the shapes that that are in the type, and this is also a totally valid way to go about creating a brand. I just converted them to outlines, and now we're just kind of making sure everything lines up. When type is created, fonts are created. I don't want to get too far down a tangent, but
Yeah.
there's actually a logic and reason for why, if you look at letters after you expand them, you're like, wow, why is the S kind of off here? And there's actually a logic to it. It has to do with visual weight. So they'll actually make letters that aren't like, if it's for type like this, like typing out the word sushi, you want to make sure that your letters have good visual weight when you type out like a sentence. But when it comes to like, then you want to pull out that letter and maybe use it as a letter mark. You might want to like make some adjustments to that, right? So that it does stand on its own without looking weird, like without having that
top
weird
heavy or yeah
spacing, which that spacing makes complete sense, because like I said, type designers are generally trying to make sure that the letters all have good visual weight. They're not necessarily concerned about like, it would look weird if that S was like pulled over. It would be too close to the other letters. So just kind of
I mean, being a typographer
nuancing
in itself, I think is pretty insane, right? It's I mean, like any craft that we do in a creative space is pretty awesome, but especially like for me, it's always been like illustrators and typographers. I've always had a real interest in seeing how like creatives work on that space because I think it's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
patience as well, right? I feel like you need a lot of so when you're creating maybe a bespoke typeface, or if that is your jam, or whether it's letterpress. I think patience probably like any other creative craft. But yeah, I mean, I work with books, so maybe it's probably just as much patience, but I feel like it's more in tight space.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a couple of like streams where people have like made their own fonts and stuff, and it's very tedious. It's a lot of like making. So they start with like specific letters. I think it's like the letter O and like H, and there's a couple of like key letters they'll start with, and then they'll use pieces and parts of them to build the other letters. But there's always like, it's a lot of like making and then refining and then making and refining, which I guess is a little bit like this, but
hard to squeeze in an hour and a half live stream on Adobe Live, but definitely worth when you get on Behance and seeing how other folks do it, because I think that's really cool. And that's, to be fair, that's quite a nice way to link in the idea of, if you're on Behance, checking out loads of folks on there and watching more of the streams, because it's a community, right? We get to see how other folks work together in the space. So yeah, I think it's quite cool.
I really like this letter A, that I'm wondering if we can like release this path and maybe play with this letter a little bit, these letter shapes, to see if we can get our character to kind of emerge out of the A.
Yeah, nice.
you know, maybe it won't work, but we'll try. Let's look at our Tanuki again for a sec.
It's one of those projects that you're doing now, like you can have so much fun with it, just creating loads and loads of characters, right? I don't know. I feel like it was like a Cartoon Network poster, but like I feel like you just create because it's just the fun part, and you're like, oh no, actually I've got a deadline and a deliverable for the client, but even though it's a passion project, but still, it's that's the fun and the perks and the downside of being a creator, right? Having to limit it sometimes, but also very fun. Very, very fun.
And this is another trick that I've kind of learned about, like, let's actually see how this looks with lines, with facial expressions in particular. Moving the kind of like the nose up a bit, like, so I've moved these kind of elements up here a bit. Kind of makes it feel like the face is like squished into that smile, even though you don't see that smile. The way that like your cheeks kind of lift and your eyes kind of squint when you smile, it kind of gives that impression without, you know, I don't even have to add the mouth necessarily. And then we can just add.
There's so much squishiness. There is no mouth, right? It's like there is no spoon. I don't know. It's just pure squishiness. If that is a thing. Either way is pretty cute.
I don't know how I feel about the cheeks.
Arokia, he said this type is so cool. So they're liking what you're doing.
These are all Adobe fonts, by the way. So I'll give you a rundown here really quickly. So this one's called Neighbor. This one's called Aptly. We've got Greycliff. This is actually a new one that I liked. I really liked. I want to get back to this because I don't think I talked about this. But this one was called Rounded M Plus. Some of these are actually, I went through Adobe fonts and I just looked for I'm blanking on what these are called. Katakana. So I just went and looked for the specific katakana, and I'll explain why in a sec. So some of these are like, the names are a bit odd because they're actually like specifically Japanese fonts. The same with this one here. This is called if you just search VDL, I think it'll come up, but you can see it's got a much longer like Japanese name. And then this one here, I wasn't like, I put it in here because it was like kind of like, I liked maybe playing with some texture, but it's not my fave personally. But this one's called Search. So yeah,
that totally looks like a brush stroke kind of effect.
Yeah, it's kind of like a brush, but it's not too in your face. You know, it's not like a brush or a brush script that's like too aggressive.
Yeah.
But this katakanji here, or katakana, when I was doing a little bit of exploring, I wanted to maybe, this is another thing that I kind of think about, is like, is it possible to have something like an abbreviation for the brand, right? In this case, it would be something like TS. And I came across, in case you did not know, this little cute little smile is actually the katakana for Tsu, like TSU. And these are, the katakana are used actually to like phonetically spell like foreign words. And so I thought it would be really fun, like playful, like play on words kind of thing, to use like the katakana for like this American sushi brand that I'm making. That is because like the katakana are used for kind of like foreign words. It was just an interesting kind of exploration that I had there. So that's why I picked some of these, because I wanted to see how some of these fonts, and I believe this is a different font. Yeah, this is VDL. So VDL for these katakana here. And I paired them up with like which ones I thought they would like work best with. So
nice.
I mean,
my brain's ringing and thinking poll, because I feel like there's a few folks who, you should let us know in the chat what is your favorite kind of route from those fonts. Yeah, we can chat maybe later, but yeah, there's a few in there that I like as well.
Maybe I can't decide on this one's face, how I wanna do it. Maybe we bring it up a little bit higher. I don't know. Maybe we'll just do circles. I'm trying to get some.
It's funny. Cheeks. My brain was like, imagine the right eye kind of like slightly roused, as if to say, just like really inquisitive, squishiness, just like pondering. I don't know.
Let's ungroup that, and then we can bring one of them.
Did it work? I don't. Maybe not. It sounded better in my head when I was like, yeah, maybe not. No, it just looks not like it should be, but each to their own. You've got to try,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
To know.
we have to try it. Otherwise, you'll always have that left
If
on
you
the
don't
table.
enter the
Like,
raffle, you don't win the prize, right? There we go.
right. All right, let me try. I don't want to forget. So I'm kind of all over the place. I need to add the ears, but I also want to add in the mask on the face. I want to make sure not to forget that. So I can also do that kind of like with shapes. So I'm actually going to, let's see, we need to kind of have a lighter area at the top of this too. I'm just gonna move it over here for now. For kind of like the mask.
2 faces now. 2-faced creature. There we go.
Yeah.
What have you done to me?
Oh, you know what we could do? We might be able to use that original A. Let's do that. And let's release this compound path. We need like a lighter area at the top, so we could add a darker mask over. Otherwise, obviously, you can't see the mask, and I don't really want to make it like white. So maybe let's make like a really exaggerated, that's like an extreme A. And then I'll go in here and we'll try just kind of like adding in our mask over top, maybe? Huge button tail. Oh, that's the back. Oh, that would, oh my gosh, unicorn, that would actually be kind of cute. If we did like a front
so weird. I was
back.
thinking that actually. I just didn't actually say, but yeah, I mean, great way of thinking. I love that. Like it's being yeah, cool.
I like that idea. Maybe we'll explore that as well. So I'm just kind of using shapes to block in where I might want to have the mask. Just pull this down a little bit.
I'm still in awe. Going back to like, this is very much at the early stage of our stream. When you mentioned about your background of working in the sort of medical space, and then now we're doing some really cool. It's like what a transition, because that's pretty. And obviously donuts, which is your thing. Like I love that. Like wow, because I feel like even just hearing that, maybe for folks in the chat, and I've done a few streams myself where sometimes a lot of the folks who tune in maybe necessarily from a design background, and maybe they want to change and to get into design background. That's quite cool that you can get into one and then maybe shift into another, because it's possible, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, I made a huge career transition from illustration and animation, and you know, I loved what I was doing, and it just wasn't the right fit. The challenges that I get to kind of explore now in what I'm doing, whether it's branding or my UI UX work, they just like, they're like interesting puzzles for my brain to solve. Other things that
Nice.
I like and enjoy doing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Versus like, there was nothing wrong with what I was like industry that I was in before, and I enjoyed it as well, but I don't know.
And even like a side hobby, right? I mean, there's no reason why you can't kind of switch it up. And if you're not in a design space, you can have things like a side hobby, or you can do it on a, you know, watch a tutorial like you're doing maybe now if you're watching us now on stream. Yeah, it just kind of keeps, and plus got to be fun, right? I feel like maybe we're being biased, but it is a fun, it's intense, it's tiring, it's stressful, but like any job, and you got to have fun with what we do when we're in the creative space, right? That's kind of,
absolutely,
I like to think that's why we do what we do, right?
I think it's so important to work on personal projects. I think there's like nothing.
100%.
Yeah, you can. It's just so important. If nothing else, like for your mental health. I mean, that's honestly,
so true. So true.
You know, if I didn't have, I always recommend that people live stream. So if you know, if you've never, it's a good way to get used to kind of like talking about your process as you're kind of doing it. It's really good if you're like bad. I'm notoriously bad at like interviewing and talking about my process. So I started live streaming after I went on Adobe Live, and I was like, you know, I kind of like doing this thing. Cool. It's a little scary, but it's also I don't know. I enjoyed it. So I always recommend, because the other positive to that is it gives you space, like time and space, to work on those personal projects that you may not make time for. Like I stream on Behance every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, on my personal Behance. And it really does give me kind of like the space to just kind of have fun like this. Like we're just having fun, right? and I will kind of use that time to like, I'm gonna explore some tools that I've never, you know, used before and see how I like them. Or
I think that's super cool. I mean, that's the key, right? When you can sort of delve in and tap into that space where it's you mentioned the mental well-being as well, and it's healthy, but also it gives other folks to get a feel of how other people in our community work, right? I mean, that's why kind of keep it to yourself, but it's quite nice to share. And actually, organically, that's quite a nice way to lead in to this next part, because it's organic, right? I mean, if you have just tuned in on Adobe Live, you know, definitely in the tab in the Behance, you can do a guest recommendation. So if you're interested in maybe being a guest, please do recommend either a friend or even yourself if you're interested. And hopefully you could be on the next stream as well. So yeah, you could be doing what Jackie's doing as well, creating cool, fun characters in Illustrator or wherever your jam is. So yeah, get a recommendation. We'd love to see you there.
I highly recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. You know, even if you're not sure, you're on the fence. Ooh, I have like an extra.
But also just on that as well, like I feel like the common thing is probably nerves, right? Which I mean, you're only human. If you, I always feel like if you don't get nervous, you're, I mean, yeah, probably not human, but it's just, it's kind of riding that wave sometimes of, I don't know if it's, but I don't know, because you also do hosting as well, right? For Adobe Live, and I get nervous every time we come on stream, but then there's also that element of like, this is cool, this is fun to talk to folks and feed yourselves, like an adrenaline that you kind of just ride that wave. So join us, my friends, on that adrenaline and come on stream with us. It'd be awesome.
Everybody is still talking about adding the back to this, so I'm gonna give you what you want. So this will be the back of our character. Give the folks what they want. And these, I think Umacorn is saying a giant tail. They don't actually have very large tails, but we can do like a little tail. And now that I'm seeing this, I actually think I want to pull this up too. So I'm even gonna use the curvature pen tool here, just kind of pull this up. Just kind of round out the bottom. Because
I felt like at first I thought they were covering their eyes, like a peekaboo kind of vibe, and then I was like,
yeah, and I kind of like that association, like maybe they're covering their eyes,
yeah,
because our Tanuki friend, right? So I've got some notes up here about the Tanuki.
Nice.
They're these raccoon dogs in Japan, so you can tell they kind of have the facial features of a raccoon, but like here there's no real tail; it's very short. They're very like structured, like they're just kind of like different than raccoon, right? But there's a lot of like mythology and lore around them in Japan, and they're very like mischievous, but like in a friendly way. Like they're shapeshifters. Like in a lot of stories, they'll use their shape-shifting ability as like a part of the story. So
no, they're cool.
I kind of like that idea of like, you know, the logo itself is kind of shape-shifting. You know, you're kind of looking at it, and the more you look at it, the different things that you kind of see. So I think that kind of plays into the concept there, and especially this that we're kind of exploring now with all of the different ways we're using the letter here. That's a great way to kind of bring that in. But speaking of bringing things in, I do want to bring in a little bit of the sushi. Nice. So we're going to go back to our sushi chart here, our nigiri sushi, and I'm actually going to try adding on to that layer of shape shifting, and we're going to turn our tanuki into a sushi. So I'm going to add a little sushi to the top of our tanuki.
I can see again all of the lovely comments coming in. So again, yes, please do, my friends, get those comments in. Any tips as well? If you see anything you think, oh, that could be quite cool, if Jack tries that, yeah, let us know in the chat. I'm sure Jack would love to see it. And
if you have any suggestions,
too, so let us know. Sharing is caring in this world. It's all good. Yeah, some cool comments. I love how interesting turning the letter A to a cute little doggy. Cool.
Definitely. So I'm just making like a little sushi, and you'll see in a second when it all comes together. Again, I started with just a box, you know, just a rectangle, and I just modified it using the curvature pen, and the free transform is another one of my favorites.
Yes, I think that's a good question. I never actually asked. What is your favorite like tool? We've all got one. Maybe is it the free transform?
That is a great question, and a loaded question. I really like.
Also at your own risk.
Yeah. So obviously, working primarily in Illustrator, I obviously am partial to the pen tool. I use it for
Of
everything.
course.
But I do really like the free transform tool a lot, because it's so direct to me.
Nice.
To like just taper things or like skew things, to get kind of like the shapes that I want. So that's another one of my favorites. Don't sleep on that. The width tool. You were talking about eyebrows. Let me show you this trick really quickly.
Yeah, hit us up.
I use the width tool all the time to make eyebrows. So if we wanted to add some eyebrows to our character, I'm just gonna draw that out. We'll change
You're making my dream come true, and you're showing me eyebrows. This is what I came into work today. I want to see these eyebrows. I want to see how they look.
So I'm gonna pull the stroke weight up quite a bit, and I'll just change them to a round style since that's kind of works for what we're going for here. And then I'll just use the stroke width profile or stroke width tool, and I can scale them up and down a little bit to kind of taper them, to give them that kind of appearance of an eyebrow.
They're so happy as well. Clearly, they've had a good day. You can see.
You can kind of like taper them, move the points around.
All it takes is like a transform, flip, rotate, and they're really annoyed. Do you know? Because
right. All we would have to do is go object, transform, reflect.
But good day to bad day, real quick.
I don't have the whole thing selected. I only have one.
No, I didn't mean to do that for you.
No,
keep it positive and happy.
It's important. It's valid to understand like how facial expressions change.
Sure.
You know, depending on how you have things kind of like angled here. Like now, this is pretty. This is getting pretty.
Still seem pretty happy though. I don't know if they're.
Well, it's the eyes still, right?
Sure.
I'm still reading. Is that if we brought this over here, it would have a totally different feel to it, right? Like now.
It looks evil now. Just like
now this is looking a little aggressive, right?
Don't want to meet them on a dark alley. But I mean, I think we've got a comment as well from Illustrator, and man, Jack, you're so like giving. I love that. And apparently you're taking us out for sushi at the end of this stream. It's like,
I am. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm only going by what we see in the chat. There we go. You telling us lies, Illustrator? You telling us lies? I don't know, but it sounds good though. To be fair.
I'm gonna eat some sushi. Maybe I'll have some sushi or donuts. Yeah. You know,
it could be to be fake. It could be donuts for dessert after, right? As a pudding. I don't know. Depends.
Yeah.
What's your jam? But yeah, there we go.
All right. So now I'm working on some lines. I'm gonna use a blend here, and you're gonna see in a second sort of the magic of what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna use a blend, make. I'm actually gonna increase this. Oh, you know what I did wrong? I want to make sure that my blend is gonna be long. The lines are gonna be long enough. So I'm gonna scale this up, bring this back down to like 2. Pull this up into the corner, and then bring this down across to the other corner.
Yes, Anika, you got the right idea. Why not both? Of course, why not both? Sushi and donuts. Why not?
You know, I feel like I saw a thing on social media that was a sushi donut that was like where they took like rice and they formed it into a donut and then they laid the like sushi toppings around the outside edge.
Oh, that sounds experimental.
So yeah, I'm sure that's a thing. There are like savory donuts.
True, of course. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good point.
All right, so now I've got my lines.
Sorry, no, I'm not going to get into that off piece there. There we go.
Front, and I'm going to make a clipping mask. So now you can see that I've kind of like pulled this down a little bit. Now I've got a little like fish block that we've made that we can kind of put onto our
using that negative space. I see. Very cool.
We'll need to kind of figure out how we position it here.
Like a funky hairdo.
Like resting. We'll bring the ears up a little bit so I can have a little bit more white space between the like body and the sushi block.
I'm seeing like a sort of Johnny Bravo kind of hairstyle.
Yeah, right. I love that. I love the idea. This would be so fun.
The ideas are coming now, aren't they?
Now I want like, okay, we're gonna do a different kind of view here. I'm gonna start with like a.
You got another idea now. I love it.
I do.
So another Adobe Live for 24 hours. No, I'm only joking. Just because we could easily make another stream of this because it's awesome. Different characters you're creating.
I'm gonna start with this shape, and I'm gonna add on another shape here, sort of like this, right? So we're gonna have our character's face kind of like in perspective. or like tilted, like a 3/4 view.
Mm.
Pull this up. I want to just make sure that I don't have any weird points overlapping. Merge those two. There we go. And we can try, actually, since I don't know who suggested it. Oh, it was you with the Johnny Bravo hair. Yeah. So we're gonna try. Let's make our ears a little bit pointy. I just think they look better for the Tanuki if they're a little bit pointy.
And just FYI, for anyone who's never heard of Johnny Bravo, if you stay on this stream, of course, new tab, Johnny Bravo, Google, you will see why we suggest that hairstyle and how iconic it is. Definitely for a particular age range, because that was awesome. But anyway, off piece. Back to drawing.
Definitely. Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of a perspective. You can see kind of what I'm doing here. And then we're gonna put on our.
I'm so down for this. Can't wait to see how this is gonna pan out.
We're gonna add the sushi piece, kind of laying over top here. So then we'll come over here. I'm gonna need to make some adjustments, but bring this to the front. Kind of like blocking in what I want the piece to look like. Bring this up. So we're giving our Tanuki like a sushi
badass look, bro. It's like a real, yeah. This person's seen a few things, that's for sure. I love it.
Just make it a little bit bigger.
Like a buzz cut.
Yeah. There we go.
Awesome.
Bring this down a little bit more. I really want to like emphasize it. I'll pull it over.
It's so cool just to see just the different, literally just shapes and how cool you can, when you put them together and you build them, almost Lego like, how cool it kind of creates, right? Very cool. Basic but impactful.
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, we're just kind of exploring. And once we hit on something that like we feel like that's really it, you can really go down like cleaning it up and, you know, refining it essentially. So, and then we'll do the same thing. I'm just gonna change this to look like this right now so you can kind of see the edge.
Cool.
And then we're gonna add in our we'll add in some lines here kind of going across.
Nice.
So let's see. I'm gonna start here. So we're gonna kind of like, so if we take a look at our reference here to our sushi, you can see some of these, you can see like the striation of like the muscle tissue. And
I love how you use the pen tool and all the way up there like an annotation tool to like, you stayed on the pen tool still and then you went up to show the mood board. I love that. I mean, that probably wasn't supposed to happen, but it still looked cool.
Yeah.
We've got Biola in the comment who said it starts with a bit of a sigh. So much talk of food. I'm going to forage for some food. If you do forage for some food, make sure you keep the stream on. You can listen to us while you're foraging for the food. Definitely. And come back in when the hairstyle's done. Don't leave us, Biola. Good to see you.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's do a copy mask. Okay, so there we go. So we obviously kind of have to maybe make some adjustments here. This would probably make more sense. Let me show you this in like color. I like to try and have variations of the logo in like full color, but also I like when it works like one color as well. I think that's really important to give the, you know, your client kind of like options.
Oh.
It's not really coming with it.
It's a good time to mention that your reminder, as you suggested, it's about the hour mark now. So my friends, if you have just joined us, where have you been? Don't worry, you can watch replay. But if you haven't just joined us, welcome. And today we have Jack Watson creating some very cool branding work for a food brand on Illustrator. So yeah, any questions, any comments, questions why we creating hairstyles that look like mohawks or whatnot, please do let us know. We would love to hear it. Welcome.
And I'm gonna hold down shift with the eyedropper in order to pull the color into the stroke. So if you didn't know that, there's a little hot tip for you. Yeah. So there's an idea. It might be an interesting kind of route to go explore with our little friend here. We can add in our shapes for the eyes. the
I can almost
mask.
imagine like if he or she, depending on what or whatever animal they were, and they're completely bald, and then just a salmon just lands on their head, and then
Yeah.
that's the shot. It's kind of like landed on their head. It's like, there we go, hairstyle, or has it just landed? You let us know.
Yes, absolutely. And it also, again, like getting back to the like it's a shape shifting kind of like fun, mischievous character, right?
Evie, funky fresh in brackets. Yes, I'm still trying to figure out the pun tagline because I love that. I married to the dedicated to the cause. I really appreciate that. Like, yeah, keep on going. It's all good. Got 15 minutes, so you're good for it. You just appreciate the trying and the effort.
Yeah,
Funky
so
fresh.
I do want to make sure we have time to get over to um Express. So how much time do we have left?
15 minutes, maybe
Sure.
a
We're
16
gonna
minutes at a
switch over
push.
to there.
Yeah.
So
Plus, we want to do
I
a little revamp
yeah,
at the end as well. Yeah.
like I said, I wanted to kind of explore and show you my process here. I do have a library that I put together of fine elements so that we could cooking show it over to Adobe Express because I want to show you how I would put together something like this into a brand client presentation. So after
Nice.
this point, I've got like this messy file like we looked at here with Peristyle. What I like to do is I like to take these elements and actually like to put them into a library. And that's kind of where I start. So I'll take only the final thing. So I'll grab like our final color palette, our final type, our final logo mark, etc. And you can literally just go in here and add a new library. Create a new one, name it Tanuki for the time being. I just select these elements and add them. We can add our color, we can add our little mark here. And that's how I'd go about kind of like building this in. You can make them groups. So I've got one over here already that I've kind of built out with a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't really get into we did a little bit of our sushi block pattern, but I actually think I like the one we did on stream better with the letter.
It's cool.
So yeah, this is kind of like jumping ahead to like a concept that maybe we kind of like explored fully. And if I go over to Adobe Express now, I'm going to be using the web page builder to put together a client presentation using Adobe Express because I really, really like how I like sharing using the Illustrator share links for like when it's a back and forth, like if it's a conversation with the client, like we want to take comments and stuff. But sometimes I like to make these web pages that because they have a little bit more interactivity in them. So what I do, because the web pages in Adobe Express, you have to use images. You can't use elements from your library. So what I'll do is I'll make a custom size 1920 by 1080. Let's see if we can get there. Create a new project. And then I will go over to my stuff. And I will go to my brands and libraries. Not me, not my brand. Although we could. I'm gonna find sushi. And how I'll go about doing this is I'll actually like drag out. So I'll drag out one of my concepts, right? Throw it in here.
Nice.
We can scale it up. So I just want to basically have like each element on its own page. So we can add another page in here if we wanted to. And it's going to add just another page to my document. Drag over. Maybe we'll put together like, you could put together like a grid of your logo marks if you wanted to. Some on like dark backgrounds, so like these ones, if we put a dark background behind this.
I love the color contrast as well. It's very cool. Works really well.
Yeah, that was one thing that I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, and that's like the stuff. I like the image to read in pure black and white, and also in like full color. Kind of getting back to the idea that like you want to give your client like options. So then we have a white logo, which we would need to put like change the background color. You can see how these read on darker backgrounds and these read on lighter backgrounds. So, and then I would go up here and I would actually download these, save them out, and save them out as PNGs. Download. just going to save those out. And then I'm going to hop over because I'm kind of going through this fast, but I would do this with all the brand elements. So we'd take them from our library, we could put them on these individual pages, and then we'd export them all out as PNGs. And let's go back out of here. And let's make a new document type, and this time I'm going to type in web page. One word. I believe it's one word, web page. I think that's it. I can't really see. Yeah, okay. So this is the web page creator in Adobe Express. And this is really cool because you can add these different sections. It's very much like working on a case study in Behance. And there are features like you can add video, you can add these photo grids, you can add, which are like grids that you can open up the images larger, glide shows, which are like slideshows. So these are a really nice way to give your client a presentation. You can use this little share link up at the top. And when you hit that, you're actually going to get a link and you can share that with the client. And I find these handy getting back to like time. The client can take that link and they don't need to ask you for your presentation or like anything like that. They can just share that with, you know, their stakeholders, other people that they need on their team to see it. So once I'm in here, you know, I'll add, I'm going to make this a short cover. And I can just type in the name. We've got Tanuki Sushi, right, to start. Maybe down here is a subtitle, we'll put our date in. You could put like, you know, the client's name in, if that's what you wanted to put in there, you know, whatever additional information you kind of added to need to add up there at the top to identify the project. And then down here, you're just going to click to add additional sections. So I'll go down here and I will add, let's do like a split. Let's just split layout. And on this side here, I'm going to add in the brand statement that I wrote, because I think it's really important, again, to kind of call back to that and remind the client what we're working on. So I'll go ahead and put the name in of the brand. You can change actually right in here if you want headers. So H1, H2, obviously large, H1, H2 is slightly small, and then we've got body copy. So I'll make that quite large. Add another text section here. And we can just go right back into our file and start pulling out pieces and parts. So I'll go up here, grab, using the text tool, just copy this. Here we go, in here. Paste it in. Missed our first letter there. You know, center it. And then we could put an image that we want to pair with this. It can either be, you know, a reference from our mood board, or we can upload, there's my face. Let's see. We can upload from our mood board here. So, oh no.
It's awesome how like intuitive though, like this process is, or just like how straightforward.
Yeah.
You can build something quite creatively, which is awesome.
Yeah. So here's some that I exported already. You can see from, you know, Express. So I'll pull in that one that I kind of showed you here of our brand, and if we close out this, you can see what it's kind of look like. So it gives us like, here's what the brand's gonna look like. Here's, you know, the concept that I'm presenting, and then here's the brand statement on this side over here. Actually, you know what? Let's change that to say brand statement, so it's really clear. You can see that everything is also really responsive. And so if I like go in here and I scale this page down, it's gonna stack and it's gonna scale. So if they're viewing this on mobile, it's also gonna present very nicely, right? And then down here, the next section I'm going to add is I'm going to add a photo grid. I'm going to upload these as well. And I'm actually going to go back out to, let me make sure. I need to find my mood board files. Here we go. So here's our images for our mood board, right? And I can just actually select a bunch of these, holding down either Control and selecting a few here, or copying. We'll just select a handful of ones here. We didn't even talk about the Norin pattern, which are those curtains, but
that's what happens in the Adobe Live space, right? Just time goes when you talk about food and other creative, cool stuff. It just flies by. But yeah, you're good for it. We still got time.
Here we go. And then we'll just hit add. So we can add all of these. We can add a caption down here that says like mood board. If you wanted to, you could write like top left to bottom right, and sort of explain what each of these, you know, things are here. So we could scroll up here and say like our first one here is the Japanese mascot, city mascot. This one I loved, even because like this was obviously a clear inspiration with the fish on the head. The Norin curtains, sushi block pattern. So you're letting the client know like here's, you know, here's bits and pieces from the mood board. These could be example like pieces of the mood board that they liked, that resonated with them, and pull that in here. So you can say like, hey, here's what we talked about. And then we'll go down here. Maybe we'll add like do like a glide show. I'm going to add a couple of images from here as well. Going back out to our exported folder, we can grab like we'll do like our, what do we got here? I think this is like colors and fonts, our brand. Here we go. We'll just pull some of these in here. Actually, let's grab a whole bunch. And this is going to add these as slides. Nice. They can slide through to get an idea of like all of the elements that we put together for the brand. So we're going to hit save.
Looks super clean as well, right? I mean, it's just the mock-up and just the way it kind of in situ, it looks really clean. Really nice.
Yeah, it's like a really nice way to present all of this information in like a really professional way. So you can see how it's transitioning as we scroll down to kind of see all the different elements that we put together. Nice. And then we're going to add, we'll do like one more thing here. Let's try maybe like the pattern. You know, we might want to tone that down. You could also pick different themes as well. So if we didn't really like this, I think this might be like the clean one or whatever the name is, crisp. If we didn't like this one, if we wanted something that maybe aligned more with our brand, like maybe Baldwin.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Baldwin, right? I feel like that sort of, is it Beavers? That kind of style font is just, it's a bit of a winner, right? It's just like, vanilla ice cream.
It's you know, our title feels a little bit bolder, right? Maybe we would want something. This one's also very similar. This is like a dark theme. So I don't know if it works necessarily with the brand that we've got going on. Our brand is a little bit light, lighthearted.
Nice pattern though, really nice pattern. We've got folks in the chat they're still going hard on the puns.
You know, we should definitely add. We need to give the people what they want. Can
you imagine starting the client like start a pun, just like boom? Can you? Client, a really important client opens a joke is the first thing they see on your brand proposal. Who knows?
Eat the sue.
Do the sue. Yeah, I saw that.
So I'll do a little bonus if we have a couple minutes, but I do want to show you how this is going to work at the end. So once you're ready and you've got your presentation put together, and again, this is going to be great because it's going to, you know, it's a very professional, it's a link that you can, you know, publish. We can give it a name.
Do the sue. That's a cool name. Good job, Corey.
We're going to create that link. It's going to publish it. And then you can share that with clients, the client that you're working with, to show them like, this would be like an R1 concept, right? This would be the first, like here's the concept that I come up with. I only like to present really one final concept to the client, even though we made a bunch, in this kind of like professional, clean, you know, it's got its own link, but you can also share this with potential clients in the future. If you have somebody who sees your work and they want to work with you, say, hey, here's a great example of a branding project I just did. Nice. This is something that you'd get, you know, working with me as a part of my process. So I can also share this with y'all in the chat. So I just ran that link. Nice. I'm going to post it in the chat and you can check it out as well. So back to we've got a couple minutes left.
Do you know what? I'll give you, usually it's like, I would say 4, I'll give you an extra 5. 5.3 minutes. You're good for it.
All right. We're going to
because of course we're going to do a little breakdown of who you are as well, or who you are, how folks can find out about you and whatnot.
We'll do like a little social post. So I'm going to create a social post from scratch. And we'll come up with something maybe that's got our branding, but then I'll pull one of these taglines. So maybe pull one for me, Kieran, something that's gonna.
Oh, no pressure. Okay. Put me on the spot. We could do that.
So I'll pull in. We'll grab our pattern. We can drop the opacity so it isn't so crazy. Scale it up. Right? This is where that brand pattern is really going to come in and help you to kind of like fill out this.
It'd be amazing gift wrapping paper, just saying. So
It would be super. Or like tile. Like I would love this as like tile in the restaurant.
It'd be trippy as hell, but it'd be awesome.
So maybe let's grab let's see how just the black and white looks on this. Right? And then we can put in, like, this would be like a coming soon post, right? Like advertising like this is coming soon, a little sneak teaser, right? And let's see, what do we got? World's first sushi bar.
yeah, I saw that. That was pretty... You folks have been on it today. I love it. It's just fast and thick with the puns. There's no let up.
Actually, is one of them. Let me grab aptly. Might take a minute to load.
That's all good.
That's okay. Let's actually just type let's type it out. What's a good one? Let's
gonna go old school, typing out. My brain forgot that exists. I thought it was about copy and paste. We've got many. Why does rice baby still stick in my head?
Oh,
sorry, that was so long ago. That was such a long time ago.
Okay, let's do
I think that was from our very own Anika. That was. There we go. I knew you'd come through, Anika, when it comes to the puns. I expected nothing less.
I don't know where the comma goes, so I'm just gonna leave it like that, and then let's go up here to our fonts and see what we can come up with.
Maybe a comma after the second rice? Just saying, maybe?
Yeah,
rice baby? I don't know. I don't know. You should have
actually, we'll go with like...
Who am I to dictating where second comma should go?
Like that, you think? That's okay.
What? Oh no, sorry, I meant two commas, like rice baby.
Right. Okay,
yeah,
we'll do that.
But I don't know.
I don't know either.
There is no
I
definitive.
Just accidentally copied
the rice baby, the dictionary.
Let's duplicate it, and then I'll make this a little bit smaller, and we'll say, let's type in like 72. We'll make it a lighter version, regular maybe.
Nice. Whilst you're doing that, I can see the wonderful Cody Bear has just put in the Express link, so you can actually follow up and see exactly what Jack's been doing. So yeah, after the stream, please do have a click through down the browse.
And we'll put in coming fall 2023. There we go.
Nice.
So there you go. That we just created a social post using those assets from our library with our little tagline, rice baby. We should probably put it in quotes.
Nice.
There we go. Maybe. I don't know.
And it actually works because definitely going off piece, but there's a footballer for Arsenal, and we use that as our singing
there we go.
So there we go. It works in both ways. There we go. As if anyone else cared about that, but it's all good. It looks great. It's nice to sort of see how you've utilized all the assets, that you've created as well. Because it's almost like, it's the leftover parts that we can still be using, right? As elements, just like in food. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, again, gets back to my UX experience. It's sort of like UI experience, actually. Putting together a brand design system is the same as like putting together a design system for like a website, right? You want to make sure that when it comes to building a brand, I prefer to, there's like these, it's a balance, right? Between like giving people enough freedom that they feel like they can actually utilize the brand like a toolbox. And also giving them enough like bumpers essentially to feel like the brand is consistent. So you want the brand to be consistent, but you don't want it to be so restrictive that they don't feel like they have any freedom to use it, right? And so that's the idea, is you want to like, and that's where having all of these brand elements sort of like fit. The colors reflect the brand, the name reflects the brand, the font reflects the brand, the imagery, everything comes together at the end to kind of create this sense of cohesion no matter what. And I just added a quick little animation on here, so if it was a social post, it would like...
do you know what? That was literally my next question. I was going to say, if you could animate an element of this, what would it be? And you even done it. You read our minds. It's because I feel like there is it's tricky, isn't it? Because we might create these awesome static posts, and you're like, if only my brain knew how to do a bit of, the Premiere Pro or After Effects. It's just, which we can always learn about. Yeah.
These are great, and the interface is super, super simple. So, if you've never used After Effects before, it could be very daunting. But right here, you just get a couple of, under animation, when I've got an asset selected, I can pick how it animates in, how it animates out. There's a little timeline if you wanted to like change how long it's, animating on the screen. And then there's also like, so each of these has like bespoke options. So if we were to pick a different one here, if we were to pick I know Tumble is a favorite, so I'm going to pick that one.
Oh, look at Tumble.
It has rotation
Nice.
settings. So it's
Ooh.
these all have like little tweaks that you can make them feel like your own. They don't feel like, oh, that's just, generic, whatever. Like you can make them kind of feel your own, but it's not super overly complicated. So
no, just on that idea of complicated, we've got Evie and a bit of the food part saying Jack making it look as easy as pie as usual. There we go,
that.
the puns.
Yeah, I actually got married on Pi Day, so 3, 14,
what is Pi?
Yeah.
What day's Pi Day?
3, 14, 15. I know it doesn't work for like European dates, but it's the month and the day. Right, yeah. So like the day is first, then the month, right? But if you read it like month, day, year, it's 3, 14.
Which is the correct way. I mean, it depends where you're from. Everyone's got a correct way. I like Pi Day. Is that a thing? I didn't even know that's a thing. That's incredible.
Pi
wow.
Day. It's sweet for the number pi. Like
3 1.4. Okay, there's my brain thinking food. Okay. Yeah.
But also we had pie. So
what just very quickly, what kind of pie was it?
Oh gosh, it was, so we got a variety of pies, but we also had a cake that looked like a pie. So there was cake, but it was a red velvet cake, so the inside looked like pie filling, but it was red. Anyways.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, that could have been another hour and a half live stream about pie and donuts. But yes, we've got about an extra 4 minutes. Should we maybe do like a little nice recap of what we have done, and also how can our lovely folks find out about you?
Absolutely. So today we worked on this little brand, this Tanuki Sushi. I went through my process, how I kind of work personally. Again, if this speaks to you and you want to give it a try, go for it. If you want to create a riff on this brand, go for it. If you have your own idea, share it with me on social. I'd love to see your Tanuki Sushi.
Nice.
But this is how I generally work. I have a client meeting. We'll sort out like, what are we doing? Like, what are the deliverables? What are the brand traits? We'll have a conversation about what they want their brand to represent to their audience, imagery wise, word wise. I'll put together a little brand statement. I'll put together a mood board that kind of reflects all these notes that I have. This is just kind of pulled out that brand statement that I write, so we're all kind of on the same page. So we're working through this. Pick some colors that are based on, again, the mood board and the imagery. These are based on like the Tanuki and the sushi colors, right? Decide how many colors we want to play within this brand. I think probably 4 is what I would go with, just because we have that pattern. But I like to have the logo work in one color as well. So, and then going over to fonts, we picked a bunch of fonts that fit the mood and style again, and picked one that we ended up ultimately going with. Although I do really like this one. I forget the name of it offhand. VEL.
I do like that one, yeah.
Yeah, I think this would work really well. So we went and we explored these different concepts here. We tried like the very sort of the low-hanging fruit first of just like the face of the Tanuki. Then we kind of tried breaking out the face and doing this kind of like negative space shapeshifter thing. Took a break over to play with fonts and patterns, and then we tried using similarly the letter A to build out this little Tanuki Sushi, which could be a lot of fun to explore. It reminds me of those dolls too, the Japanese, I forget what they're called. They're like wooden dolls.
Yeah,
that could work too. Did like a little sushi mohawk. Yeah, and then after that we kind of stopped there so we could get over to Adobe Express. So I put together this library in Adobe Illustrator, and we were able to hop over to Adobe Express. And I think I've got to go back out to get to the web page. Let me just copy my own link here. Thanks for sharing that, Cody.
Copy your own.
Yeah.
What kind of world are we living in?
Cool. So this was the share link that we generated, but we built this using web pages in Adobe Express. Very quickly, putting in all of the pieces and parts, just literally assembly, boop, 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 boop. The brand statement, the logo, the mood board. These could be images from the mood board that the client liked, and then showing all of the different elements. The other things I might add here would be those brand characteristics and the deliverables, the next steps. So there's a quick summary for you.
Awesome, Jack. It's been awesome to see your design process. Honestly, it's perhaps one of the most tastiest streams. Oh, that's so
I hope
cheesy, isn't it?
so. If I
Oh,
can be anything on Behance, I hope my streams are the tastiest.
they are. And how can I, like, literally within a minute, would you say, how could our folks lovely catch up with you and
Sure.
find out more about yourself?
Like I said, I stream live on Behance, on my personal
Okay.
Behance. It's just Jack. I think there's a link to it. It's just Jack Watson with a 0 instead of the O.
Yeah.
On Saturdays and Sundays. So Behance is probably the best place to find me. I've also got, if you go to my website, which is just jackwatson.com now, or jackwatson.design, it loads. Cool. There's a links page right here. Cool. So jackwatson.design/links. You can find all of everywhere I am, all of my socials, my Behance, everything. So that's probably the best way if you're looking for me, is to go to that link. Or Behance, nice. That's where I live. So
nice. Well, I have no doubt our lovely folks will be following you up and seeing you create some more tasty designs. So thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've had a blast in seeing your design process. So yes, my lovely friends, it is that time. I can see we've got as well in the chat links to your website as well. So I'm sure our folks will.
Yeah, I'll be sharing all of this eventually. So if you follow me, you can I'll post this as a project at some point in the future. So.
Sounds like a plan. Well, this is a nice time now to kind of wrap up and give you a little intro into going to be our next show coming up very shortly. So stay tuned, our friends, for the next stream. We're going to have a filmmaker and content creator, Tej Patel, and he's going to walk you through his process of creating complementary assets for your videos. It's a good one, so stick around, my friends. Jack, it's been a pleasure. It's been awesome to host you finally, and we're gonna maybe in another universe you might host me, and then vice versa. We'll just keep on going and going.
Totally do that.
It won't ever end. I love it. And of course, massive thank you to our Adobe team behind the scenes, and of course to the audience, because without you, right, there is no stream. So on that note, hope you enjoyed the stream. Stay safe, my friends, and we'll see you very, very soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Kieran. Bye, everyone. Bye.